While Trump administration is facing the flack over its shifting rationales on decision to attack Iran. As war in West Asia entered day 5, the question is the big why, which has remained unanswered. Critics are asking, what's the plan for Iran? Well, on Tuesday, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, CIA Director John Ratcliffe and Joint Chiefs Chair Dan Kane briefed senators on Tuesday afternoon and House members later that evening. But the briefing seemed to spark more confusion and frustration. Several lawmakers, especially Democrats, slammed the meeting. Take a look.
The answers are very unsatisfying. They have shifting goals, different goals all the time. Different answers every day, and I am truly worried about mission creep. When there's no set plan, when you can't hear day after day, we're going to do this, 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 and this, and these are the reasons why.
I am more fearful than ever after this briefing that we may be putting boots on the ground and that troops from the United States may be necessary to accomplish objectives that the administration seems to have, but I also am no more clear on what the priorities are going to be of the administration going forward, whether it is destroying the nuclear capacity of Iran or simply the missiles or regime change or stopping terrorist activity.
Trump and his top officials have come under scrutiny after offering different reasons for the strikes on Iran. Speaking at his first public event since the attack began, Trump never mentioned a key part of his original rationale for the war, opposing Iran's theocratic regime. Instead, he emphasized that Iran would soon have missiles that could hit targets inside the United States. While the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, talked about Iran's nuclear threat, he reasoned that Iran is building sophisticated missiles to shield its plans for a nuclear bomb. Earlier, Rubio sidelined regime change in Iran as the goal of American strikes on the country. He said that it is up to the people of Iran to overthrow the Islamist regime. Notably, it was Rubio who had first put the onus of attacks on Israel, before going back on it. Meanwhile, a CBS survey taken on Monday and Tuesday found that more than 60% of nearly 1,400 American adults did not think the Trump administration has provided a clear explanation for the U.S. goals in Iran. And for more on this, we're now being joined by Dr. Saeed Imamian from Tehran. He's an assistant professor at Tehran Polytechnic and founder and former director of the Governance and Policy think tank. Thank you so much, Dr. Imamian, for joining us on the broadcast.
Thanks for inviting me here.
Dr. Imamian, what's the situation like on the ground right now, and how are the masses reacting? Because in the latest, we've heard the Israeli military has said it's carried out airstrikes on bases and internal security command centers in Tehran, striking facilities which are linked to Iran's security apparatus.
Yeah, actually, based on the experience that we had in last war on Iran in last June, and I would suggest you to change your title, not war with Iran, war on Iran, that it was imposed on Iran by Israelis and joined by Americans in last June. We had a very sharp increase. All the studies that I have seen and my colleagues have conducted, there was a huge increase in the social capital and what's called the sense of the sense of the national identity of the Iranians after the war in June. If we compare the June 13th and June 25th as the last day of the war. So we are very much expecting that something similar would happen in the second round also. While Iranian social capital and has been affected a lot by what happened in January 8th, and a kind of the social polarization was very much witnessed in Iran. Now we are seeing a kind of the social cohesion that is going to be very much clear now across the country. Every evening, we have a lot of Iranians are gathering in squares, at least in Tehran that I'm based in, to mourn the supreme leader. Most of them are supporters, but there are someone that they have been disagreeing with the political views of the supreme leader. But they are mourning, respecting him because of his courage and his patriotism. So this is a sense of the social cohesion, because everyone knows that the alternative is not a regime change, a political shift. The alternative is dividing Iran and is the matter of the national security and territorial integrity, because of the Israelis have been outspoken that they are not going to tolerate any geopolitical power in the region, and they are thinking of occupying the large proportion of the territories of other countries under the title of the Greater Israel. So it's something very much concerning for everyone in the region, including Iranians, even amongst those Iranians that they have been very much politically against the current political establishment of the Iran. So the matter of the national security and territorial integrity is something that is bringing Iranians together.
Of course, Dr. Imamian, and the possibility of the war not being contained and spilling on to other regions is something that we're seeing play out right in front of our eyes, update after update. But after assassinating the supreme leader, President Trump is exploring backing the Kurdish forces and internal militias to overthrow the Iranian regime. And as the US-Iran conflict escalates, the Kurds insist on having a voice in any political rearrangement of Iran. What kind of a role do you think the minorities will have in shaping Iran's political future?
First of all, with regards to the prospect of the war, we know that we are living in a very regional war. It's an existential threat to Iranian national security, and Iran is going to retaliate with any kind of the instruments and targets that it could have access. So it has been very clear since the beginning. With regards to the role of the militias or terrorist groups that we have already experienced them. If you remember, Iranian history, post-revolutionary Iranian history has witnessed a lot of separationist terrorist activities in the first years of the post-revolutionary Iran. And I think Israelis and Americans have funded a lot of those kind of the terrorist groups outside the Iranian borders, and they are very much hoping to get them in. So this is a security risk. But at the end of the day, as I said, Iranian as a whole are thinking of current situation as the matter of the national security and also territorial integrity. So we expect that Iranians are coming together to defend the country as a whole. It's not that the defending is, it doesn't mean that they are necessarily supporting the political view of the establishment. But at the end of the day, the alternative is very, 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 very frightening. So I think current situation also would be a turning point for a more social cohesion, more political representation, and maybe the new leadership would have a new window of opportunity to rearrange the Iranian political landscape in much more inclusive.
Right, we seem to be having some problem connecting with Dr. Imamian. As we're aware that because of the conflict, there have been severe disruptions in communication channels as well. But of course, as the situation escalates, the main question on everybody's mind is why? Why, and what was the reason behind this conflict? Well, on Tuesday, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and CIA Director John Ratcliffe, along with Joint Chiefs Chair Dan Kane, have briefed senators on Tuesday afternoon and House members later that evening. But that briefing seemed to spark more confusion and frustration. Several lawmakers, especially Democrats, slammed the meeting. And Dr. Imamian, we're trying to have him back with us. Doctor, we see that there is this conflicting narratives that are coming out of the United States, and there still seems to be a lot of confusion as to what is the rationale behind, initiating these attacks. What do you think? Does United States have a clear objective against Iran here?
I'm very much thinking in the same way that Trump's team doesn't have any clear target. But the main important thing is that the very internal conflicts amongst his inner circle. As I have already mentioned, there is a very key conflict between America First group and Israel First group. And America First group has been opposing the war on Iran since the first day. And even the last time they were very much against the policy. But the Israel First is going to sacrifice all the American interests for the policies of Benjamin Netanyahu. So it seems that for the second time, the Trump's administration, Trump's policy has been hijacked very skillfully by Netanyahu, so that it has created a lot of chaos inside his inner circle and American political landscape, because everyone knows that it is not any imminent threat to America, to U.S. interests from Iran, and there won't be any prospect for any benefit out of the Iranian war on Iran for the U.S. interests. This is only Israelis' expansionism, eliminationism, and genocidal policy that would benefit from getting and pushing U.S. into the war for the second time. So U.S. politicians from different frictions and different groups and different parties, they could understand that it is again the Benjamin Netanyahu that has hijacked Trump's policy, and Trump has been pushed to the war. That is no interest, no prospect for U.S. interests out of the war.
Right, and while there is a lot of ambiguity surrounding, the strategic ambivalence regarding Trump's actions and the rationale behind it, but we know that Iran has been making good on the claims that it had made earlier about retaliation. The IRGC has launched around 40 missiles at U.S. and Israeli targets on the fifth day of West Asia conflict. Now, I just want to understand from you, how long can Iran sustain the counterattacks?
Actually, I don't have any access to military data, of course. But I would say that Iranians are thinking of, as I said, the war about a very existential war. So they are going to fight until the end. And they think that they have the time is going to be in their favor because interception missiles of U.S. and Israelis are going to go down. And so there will be a lot of opportunities for Iran to attack directly targets that Iranians are thinking of, very strategic targets. So I won't see any political tolerance from the U.S. side and any military and security tolerance from Israeli side, because both are very vulnerable politically and militarily from the security point of view. And Iranians are thinking of this situation as an opportunity. At the same time, there is no other alternative for Iranians just to defend their territory and their country until the end.
Absolutely, Dr. Imamian, and the situation is, still evolving by the hour. And of course, we'll have to wait for the variables to finally settle down and see what the next moves are going to be. But for now, thank you so much for getting us your insights.
Thank you for inviting me.